Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to go over the history and lore from Space Engineers 1. There's been a lot of uh, updates spread out over time, and in game it can be rather difficult to make sense of what happened and where we're at. And so I put together a complete timeline, and you'll be able to find that linked in my Discord if you wanted to download that. I have included some spoilers in there, so leave now if you don't want to get spoiled for some of the campaigns and such or scenarios. Also, I've just made up some stuff to fill in the gaps. So there's a few things that we have that's different than our current planned future. Like, for instance, we have an Earth-like planet instead of an Earth planet. We also have an alien planet in our solar system magically. We have cryo chambers, jump drives, and gravity drives as well. I've also kind of backfilled some of the recent information about Factorum as well. So I hope you enjoy, and let's start going through here. So our history starts with 2028, just before the space race. The United States, partnered with other countries, gets the Gateway up, which is a real thing. It's a station that's going to be orbiting the moon, which will be pretty cool. And then the second space race begins. Generally, there's a lot of interest in it, and unmanned probes go to Europa, things like that. Those are planned to happen. A lot happens in 2030, actually, and at least it's planned in real life. And then the United States and China both establish lunar bases as well, and asteroid mining really starts to take off. And then in 2035, the military-industrial complex really takes over. So space becomes much more of a military endeavor. Everybody's fighting for their asteroids, fighting for their territory that they're trying to cover. AI continues to take off and play a key role in this, and things get heavily militarized, actually, which, looks like this. And then in the 2040s, there's actually a shift back. So that kind of wears itself out, and then and resources become much more abundant in space as technology improves, and public opinion starts to shift away, and it starts to get a little bit more towards like the Star Trek side of things, and things are shifted away from the military. And then the first crewed missions to Europa and Titan actually happen. It's pretty cool. And this is a big one. Cryo chambers start to take off and become standard. So this is kind of when cryo chambers started. It's important to keep in mind if you ever want to make lower accurate ships that they happened about this time. There's actually a cryo chamber down there. And then in the 2050s, you start to get warnings from some of the high-ranking military officials that we are headed in a bad direction by dismissing a lot of our military might that we had. And some of them start to take off with classified research. And then 2070, this is the big thing that nobody talks about, but it's required if we're going to say we have an Earth-like planet, or at least something like this is. And this is the cataclysm. So Earth was essentially destroyed. The surface of it was annihilated by some sort of high-energy explosion. We lost a lot of stuff, especially AI technology. We really got set back quite a ways, and whoever's left kind of scattered around. Nobody really knows what it is. People guess that it could have been some sort of research or something like that. But yeah, Earth exploded pretty much, or at least the surface did. And now in 2081, this is kind of when Space Engineer starts, actually. And this is a little bit of pulling from their previous IP. 120,000 survivors is all that remains. The remnants of identities, corporations, or territories, or things like that are kind of dropped, so you don't hear about countries anymore. Pre-catalysm structures and technologies are often just referred to as before Rex or before tech, relics of the old Earth, essentially. And around this time, humanity starts to kind of settle in and build in space and asteroids. And then around this time, there was an attack on an ROS facility. We'll talk more about them later. But they had a research facility, and they were devastated. And ROS is kind of a major player, and so for them to be devastated is pretty unusual. We have no information on who the attackers were. They ended up abandoning the facility years later. AGI, another faction, actually took over that facility. And that's a scenario lost colony. And then many suspect that this was actually the Factorum. So the Factorum is the only people that we know about that would have had the strength, and they were in secret back then. We think they actually destroyed that facility. And then we've actually seen some of the similar biological agents in the Factorum installations. So this is kind of the origination of the Factorum, we believe. And then Earth came back to us. So we started to see some anomalous activity around the Earth and the debris fields, and there was a lot of craziness happening there. And over a year, Earth was reconstructed. We couldn't actually see by who. We couldn't really land during any of that time or really understand it, but we did study it, and from that study, we actually learned how to create gravity generators, and learned how to create later jump drives. So, Earth came back to us, and that is the Earth-like planet that we have today. And then after that, we discovered two monoliths in space, actually on moon and a planet. They didn't really tell us too much, but we do know there was an ancient race of aliens that existed. And some people blame them for our destruction. Other people credit them with the reconstruction of Earth. And then after that, we actually discovered the alien planet. The alien planet was detected within our solar system. We believe it had been deliberately concealed. And we found out there was a bit of oxygen on there and some dangerous wildlife. Then there was the Triton ROS research facility was compromised. This is just important to know because what it might lead to later. The ROS was researching on Triton. They were making some major advances in AI. They actually successfully tested a super soldier serum on wolves, and I'm sure we'll see later. And then many of ROS's more ethical employees were purged. They just love to call out the drone, man. And then to catch up to today, the emergence of the Factorum. So the Factorum have come out of secrecy. We believe the remnants of the old military-industrial complex. Prototech has been improving since before the cataclysm, really, and so they are quite advanced. The Factorum just really wants to kind of take things back to how they believe things should be. And then just an additional note, we've noticed some other monoliths on the alien planet kind of reinforcing that connection between the alien planet and those ancient aliens. And so Factorum and Prototype Tech is here. And then lastly, I just want to kind of go over the factions that we are left with. So we had space pirates kind of all along, taking advantage of whatever they could. We're always dealing with them. And then the Soul Cooperative is established to restore order and governance. It's kind of sort of like a UN sort of thing. ITW, or the Independent Terran Workers, they're kind of like an OPA type of deal. And ROS is always causing trouble researching new tech, dangerous tech, and they have no problem calling drones on their own people or their partners. So they actually really became enemies with ITW by calling drones on them to protect some secrets. And then AGI, they focus on logistics and scaling. They're kind of like the Walmart, Amazon sort of faction today. They're the green, so I can just show you them. So these are the major factions. So ITW, or Terran Workers, is our kind of yellow team. Red team is ROS. They're a little more sleek, a little more high tech usually. The Soul Cooperative is they're oftentimes a little bit older, but some pretty strong ships. And then AGI is all about kind of scale and delivery as well. And then just for reference, we have Factorum warship here, and an older model of the space pirates. I'm sure in this next cargo update we'll actually get at least one new space pirate ship, so we'll see that. So that's kind of the catch up on the lore as best as I can understand it for where we're at. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.